I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the cowboy man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined as always by my partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you this evening?
Doing fabulous. Just fantastic. Great. Are you happy with the weather in Virginia, or are you still crying?
I'm still crying, man. I'm going to be crying until it gets warm again. It's just cold, and my poor dog is struggling. He's 10, but he lays it on thick because he knows I'm gonna baby him. So he had his blanket on him. He had the fireplace. We got to keep his joints warm. So that's how he spent his day.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a Labrador. We've had him since he was 3 months old, and he's almost 11.
You know what kind of dogs magicians have?
No.
A Labracadabrador retriever.
A Labracadabra. You're so funny.
It's your dad joke to start the show.
I love dad jokes.
Wasn't gonna sink to your level, but I did.
I'm to the dark side.
Miss Naomi in the house, along with Mr. Tiffany. And Naomi says, hello, Mr. Tiffany.
I need to get him a t-shirt. It says, I am Mr. Tiffany.
You get you one that says, I'm with Mr. Tiffany.
Yes, I do. I thought about getting a t-shirt that said, it says psychotic producer, but then in the middle it has hot, really really defined. So I'm the psychotic producer, but instead I'm the hot producer. And then I thought better.
All right.
See, he would wear it.
Yeah. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. All right, everybody. If you have not done so, you are new to the show, we would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. We are headed in the right direction, but we aren't there yet. So, yeah, share the show with everybody. Tell your family, your friends. We would appreciate it. But hit that subscribe button if you're new, please.
And if you would like to be on the show with Wayne and I, you can reach out to him, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or myself, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. Let us know your encounter. We are absolutely responsive to these emails, so just reach out to us.
Want to ask everybody head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out our website. Show some support for all of the shows. This one, Sasquatch Odyssey, Basement Hangout, Kentucky X Files. All the guys over there do a great job with their shows. And if you don't mind, head over there and show some support.
And if you have any questions this evening, which we love them, we love interacting with you guys. If you could just put them in all capital letters so we can put them up on the screen and everyone can see them and we can get them answered.
All right. Very good, very good. Anything interesting happening out your way other than the terrible weather, Tiffany?
Dreadful cold. Well, I had the giggles really bad earlier, and I was hoping that I would be able to compose myself to be professional for the show tonight. Because, like, I'm telling you, I climbed the stupid tree and I hit every single branch on the way down. I was laughing at everything, but I'm good. I've maintained myself. So.
Did you laugh at this joke from Mr. Tiffany?
I didn't see it. Oh no, I'm slacking.
Guys hanging on the living room window.
Oh, yes.
Curtain rod.
Curtain rod. Yes. Curtain rod. He's such a goober. Did you? Yeah, Naoma, that reminded me. I was gonna ask how everybody's Turkey Day was. So
yeah.
And foul weather. I get that.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving, you and Mr. Tiffany?
Well, he worked on Thanksgiving, but I think he had more food at the firehouse than we even had at his mom's house. So, and then I drove to see him when we left her house. So
that's good. Y'all didn't
he got to experience
the day after or before?
No. We don't do it.
We had ours on Friday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you eat too much?
Oh Lord, I eat too much every day.
Thanksgiving is no exception.
Yeah, it's ugly on Thanksgiving. I wouldn't want anybody to see me eat on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but that's like when you have the best food, like deviled eggs. And Wayne, guess what I did not have on Thanksgiving Day?
Turkey.
Pumpkin pie.
Ha. Good.
No, so me and Mr. Tiffany went out today, and Tiffany got her a discount pumpkin pie for $2.50 and a $1 thing of Cool Whip. I had it today, so it's fine.
You sure they weren't giving that pumpkin pie away?
Dang, I wish they were. I'd have had a couple of them.
That's disgusting.
Naoma wants to know if you can please turn your volume up.
My volume up. See?
Your volume up. See, and John said it too. Your volume is notably lower than Tiffany's.
Okay. Let me see if this helps. I'm glad y'all said something. Just a second.
Yep.
Why it's doing that?
I don't know. It's just something to get your goose.
Is this any different?
Yeah, y'all gotta let us know because I don't.
I will wait.
Yes, no, maybe so.
Y'all let me know if that's any different. I got the volume cut all the way up.
John said yes. Zach says it's better. And Naoma said it's getting better. I don't know how much better you're expecting us, though, Naoma.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the reason that's happening, and it did that last episode, too, is because y'all remember I was having so much trouble with my connection, and it was that other computer. So I moved my board, my mic, all my audio equipment over to this other laptop, which I didn't think was as good as my other one. But my connection seems to be better, but the volume was so much lower. And I changed nothing on the board. Everything was set up the exact same. So Maybe it's better
Yeah,
now.
but they're saying that they can hear you a lot better now. Naomi said that she should probably put her hearing aids in. So you do that.
All right, you ready to get to Miss April? She has been waiting patiently backstage. You ready?
I am. I'm excited to bring her out.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about April. April is a psychic medium. She also has had some experiences with Bigfoot, Dogman, Alien. She channels just all kinds of cool stuff, and she has come on to share some of that. So if you're ready, man, we'll just go ahead and bring her on.
Yeah, let's get her.
April, how you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm sitting backstage cracking up at all y'all's jokes. kept me entertained.
I'm sure it was the Labrador one. Just had you rolling.
Yeah, that definitely had me going.
Well, I'm glad that you can join us. As we were telling Tiffany before the show, you and I have been talking about this for close to a year now. You had some stuff
it's been
coming
a hot
up.
minute. Yeah.
We're finally able to get you scheduled, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm actually really excited to finally have made it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I told everybody a little bit about you. You're a psychic medium. You have channeled some interesting stuff. Bigfoot being one of them. You know, I'm a Bigfoot guy, but what I would like you to do is go back, start at the beginning when you first realized that you had this ability. And do you consider it an ability or a gift, or what do you consider it?
I consider it a normal human function. I think everybody has it. Not everybody knows what to do with it. And I came in completely on. So when I was born, I was just full blown on. And so my first experience was actually with a fairy, and it scared the fuck out of me. I was not even, I think I wasn't even quite 2 yet. I was probably closer to 1. I couldn't talk yet. And I remember my mom had put me on my side, laid me down, and I had a little fairy crawl up the top of my bear. And she looked right at me and said my name, and it scared me. And I went screaming and crying, running out of the room. And things have just, ever since then, things have just continuously come to me. I see deceased loved ones. I see, there were dead people hanging around my beds and tugging on my blankets and tapping on me when I was little. And, when you don't understand why that's happening, it can be really scary. And I didn't grow up in a family that had any sort of abilities like I did. And so I didn't have that kind of support. So it was very scary stuff when I was little. And I think I was probably about 5 when I realized that it was really bothering the people around me, because I would see things and experience things that they didn't see and experience. And that's when I started to really just kind of shut up about it, because, this is not something people want to hear. It scares them. And so I had to stuff it for a long time.
So up until that point, you said about 5 years old, you just talked about it like it was normal. Is that what I heard?
It's totally my normal. It was totally my normal. I was completely born on. It was like the veil was just not existent. I don't want to say it wasn't, it was just so much thinner. And so I saw things with completely different eyes. And
Yeah, but it was normal for you, but not for
yeah,
others. So you had
right,
to, at around 5 years old, you figured out that maybe
yeah,
I need to keep this to myself.
right. And as I did, I started kind of shutting parts of that down. I still had the experiences. I just couldn't really let the experiences evolve, because I was afraid that it would upset the people around me. So I had to keep them at bay the best I could. And that's a big burden for a little fucking kid to carry.
Oh, I bet. I bet. And I've often wondered, people like you that have the ability to see dead people. I'm sure you've seen some pretty raunchy stuff, like some bad stuff. How how does a kid, a 3-4-year-old kid, I mean, how do you handle that?
So when
I mean,
I
I
was
don't think I can handle that as an adult.
well, right, and that's the thing. When I was really little, they didn't come to me in scary form so much because my guide kind of kept them in check. It was scary enough to see somebody standing at my bed and poking at me and to calling my name and talking to me. That was scary enough. But I was so protected. It wasn't until I got older that I had seen some scarier versions. But once I realized that I was the boss, and this goes my way, I'm the channel, I'm the one in charge. You don't get to present to me like that. And if you're going to, get the fuck out of my room. So once people realize that they're actually in charge of what's going on around them, it changes things.
Okay, now I've heard you and just about every other psychic that I've interviewed, and it's been several now, talk about having a guide.
Yeah.
Tell us about what a guide is, and tell us a little bit about your guide.
So I have two guides. I have a female named Renee, and I have a bigger guy. I'm just going to call him Greg. That's how I know of him. And so, they're both around. Renee's my main guide. Greg comes and goes as I need him. But everybody has a guide, and a guide is usually somebody that's, assigned to walk this road with you and to protect you and to be basically your translator between human world and heaven world, right? Like the other side, whatever that is, whatever you want to call that. And so they're your translator and helping present some of your struggles to the other side who's not experiencing a human life. So they have a harder time understanding our emotions.
So what you just described, I would view as an angel. Is that safe to say?
I mean, you could call it that, but an angel has never been in human form. They're in perfect bliss. They're already have achieved mastery or perfection. They've never had to come here to go through this to achieve mastery. They were already born that way. A guide has been here before. They've had human lives, and so that's why they're able to help us and be our medium per se.
Okay. So your guides actually lived once.
Yes. My guides have been human before many times.
Do you see them like you're seeing me and Tiffany right now?
No, not right now. Like right now, I can access them. I can talk to them and I can ask them questions. But as far as like seeing them, no, I don't necessarily see things every day like that. But I have seen both of them. Yes.
Okay. So can you talk about what they look like?
So Renee is usually, I've never really seen her face very clear. She's younger. She comes to me in a younger appearance. I want to say she's somewhere around mid-20s, and she has long dark hair, lighter colored skin. And I always see her in like a white nightgown. And this is going to sound creepy, but if you've ever seen The Ring, it kind of reminds me of that, but not scary because I'm not into the fear-based narrative. But like she kind of has that long dark hair and I always see her in this cream colored, like white colored nightgown. It can be creepy if you don't know what you're looking at.
So you said the chick from The Ring, her hair is in her face. You never see her face.
And I have never seen Renee's face very clearly. Not as clearly as I've seen Greg's face.
Okay, what about Greg? What's he look like?
Greg's a big guy. He's a bigger guy. He's also not very old. I'd say he's probably in his 30s, and he has more of like another country kind of vibe. Like I always picked up on like French or something like that. There's something about his background that was very different. He has facial hair, kind of like auburn colored hair and a beard. And I've only seen him once. So funny story. He took human form once right in front of me, scared me so bad that I filed a 3-page police report on him.
Oh shit.
Called the cops on my angel. Who the fuck does that, right? Who does that? But I shit you not. In my files, I have a 3-page police report because I called the cops on my angel. So until I realized, it took me a minute because he scared me so bad. I just thought he was some creepy dude, like hanging out, stalking me in the woods or something. And so I told him, I said, listen, next time you want to show up, don't do it in human form, because then that confused me and threw me off and I didn't know what the fuck was happening. So like I called the cops on him, and then I felt like an idiot for like weeks. I was like, oh my God, who even does that?
Oh my God.
But you know, that story is actually important because it goes to show that, like, no matter how trained or good you are at these skills, there are moments where you still question your sanity when you're going through this spiritual awakening and you're coming to your senses about psychic abilities. And that's important for people to know, because a lot of times they'll go through things and they'll be like, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm crazy. Yeah, it fucking does, because you're walking between worlds and there's shit going on that like defies all the odds, right? And so I just need everybody to know that this happens to everyone when you're going through that.
The cops are like, don't go to that crazy ass woman's house. She sees people there.
No, it's such a great story. Like, I laugh about it with my friends all the time, and I've talked about it on Facebook Lives in full detail, and told the whole story. But it is, yeah, it's definitely a fun experience for sure.
So there are different types of mediums, I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you give readings for people? Is that something you do?
Yeah. So I'm actually a psychic medium and a life coach. And so as a life coach, I specialize in grief, trauma, and toxic relationship recovery. So those are the things I'm really passionate about. Grief is probably my baby, because I also have a child that has passed on. And so that is my specialty. And then as a psychic medium, yes, I do also offer readings.
Okay. I'm very sorry about your loss.
Well, I appreciate that. But again, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I do now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit, and how I got introduced to you was through your Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah.
Dr. Lisa Thompson came on. She's been on the show a couple of times, and she has an interest in Bigfoot, and we've talked about it a little bit. Can you talk about your connection with Bigfoot, like what experiences you've had, and just your connection with them?
Yeah, so Lisa, man, she's my girl. Love me some Lisa. She's wonderful. So Lisa, I got connected to in the last couple years, and obviously that was no accident. So you're asking about my Bigfoot experience, but before Bigfoot happened, I have to tell you, there was Dogman actually happened before Bigfoot for me, and that's kind of what led to Bigfoot for me.
All right, you want to start with the Dogman stuff?
So I'm going to start with my first Dogman experience. I was 5 years old, and I was growing up in this little town called Jonestown, Texas, South Jonestown, Texas. And up in South Jonestown in the hills, I lived in this house, and it was, I don't know, probably about half a mile to the bus stop. And back then, it was a lot of wooded, area that hadn't had all the houses built on it that it has now. And it was really early one morning. I just got out the door and I was walking up to the bus stop. I was leaving my driveway to go walk up to the bus stop. And again, I was like headed off to kindergarten for the day. So I was really little, and I make it to about the end of the driveway, and I see this big, huge black wolf step out in front of me. And I just stopped dead in my tracks and was like, wow, he was so big. And he come right out of the woods, stopped dead in the middle of the road, looked right at me. He was so much bigger than I was. He made eye contact with me. I stood still, was terrified. I was like, okay, do I turn around and go back inside, or do I keep going? And I was scared, because if I went back inside, my mom would have beat the fuck out of me, right? Like, oh, you're going to miss the bus. I'm going to kill you for doing this, whatever, right? So I'd have got my ass beat for that. So it was like, okay, well, I'd rather take my chances with the wolf instead of go and get my butt beat by my mom, right? So that's kind of where I was. So like there's that. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just stand right here and just not move. Maybe he won't bother me. And so he sat there gracefully for a minute, made eye contact. I remember thinking, holy crap, that's actually a wolf. And like I kept hearing wolf in my head over and over. So I knew he was telling me he was a wolf. And after a minute, he just continued to cross the road into the other side of the woods. And I gave him a couple minutes before I moved. I was like, I'm going to let him get up in the woods a little bit before I cross that path again. So I was, I was scared. So I went on about my day, gave him a little time, and then went ahead and went up to the bus stop and went about my day. And when I got home, I was telling my mom that I saw this big wolf in the road. And oh, I can't tell you how wolves aren't in Texas, and oh, what an imagination this child has, and blah blah blah, all the fucking stuff. So that was my very first Dogman experience, and I think what I had discovered, what it was, it's called a canine variant 1. So that's where they're actually like in, wolf form.
Okay, so this one was on all fours?
On all fours, yeah. He was solid black. And so just for the record, I ended up working in the vet field for many years in my life, and I am well aware of the difference between a wolf and a domesticated animal. Just so y'all know. And so besides all that, it's not like I need the validation anyway. I know when my guides tell me something, I know what it is, right? So it's like I had the inner authority of knowing what that was. And so, yeah, he was just a big, solid black wolf.
Yeah, and the very first Dogman story I ever took when I started doing this, a guy talked about seeing one that never stood up on 2 legs. It was only on all fours, but it was running with a pack of coyotes, and it was like a completely different color and like 3 times the size.
Yeah.
The back was up over the hood of his truck, and he had a raised up truck, and that's just not normal. It's not.
It's not. And I definitely know, like in Texas, we definitely don't have wolves here.
Yeah.
And this guy stood out like a sore thumb. Like he was huge and solid black. I mean, there's just no way.
Wow.
So
is that the only experience you've had with a Dogman?
No. So that was the first one.
Okay.
After that, when I was about 14, and this is kind of what led to the Bigfoot stuff. I was 14, and at this point, I was living in Lago Vista, Texas, and I lived out by the water. So I was probably about a block from the water, and we lived right up on like a cove in the lake. And again, out in the woods, all my friends were raccoons and skunks and all the cool stuff, right? Like I was like just out there. And it was a late night. I remember it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, I'm going to go for a walk, because I lived out in the middle of nowhere. So it was safe to do those things back then, right? You can just go out walking around. It didn't matter. Nobody was there. And I decided to go walk around. It was late, and like I said, it was like 2 a.m, something like that. It could have been midnight. I don't know. It was really late. And I was a bored teenager, and I went out exploring in the night. And I remember I kept being followed. And I could tell I was being watched. I could tell I was being observed and studied. And I wasn't afraid, but the feeling got stronger and stronger. And I remember asking my guide, I was like, what is that? Like, what is going on? And they showed me a picture in my mind of a werewolf. And I was like, what? That can't be real. There's no way. Like, seriously, that's a thing? And so I remember having this like conversation with my guides about like, what is happening? And so then I remember thinking, okay, wait, so does that mean like, am I getting this confused with like Bigfoot? Is Bigfoot real? Like it started this whole like thing, this cycle in my mind. And like right after that, I had a UFO experience and all kinds of other stuff. Like it kind of blew apart my mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so you say a werewolf, or would you say Dogman?
So I would say it's a Dogman, but because I was 14 and I didn't have any
Yeah.
reference of what that was, they showed me a vision of a werewolf in like a movie, right? So like they had to use a reference system that I had at 14. And at that
Okay.
point, all I'd seen was maybe a werewolf movie where I could have any sort of, identifiable way to figure out what this was.
Yeah. Man. So what happens next? Where do you go from here?
Yeah. So after that, it kind of just like, I think it just kind of like was an invitation, right, for more seeking. Because I was like, wait, I'm asking the questions. What? There's this, and now does that mean Bigfoot's a thing? And like, oh my God, does all these things? And you have to remember, I've already seen dead people and fairies and angels and all this stuff, right? So like at this point, I'm not thinking that this isn't real, because I could have easily blown off all the other stuff too if that was the case, right? So I'm thinking, okay, cool, this is really a thing. So I'm like seeking. I'm like, I got to understand this. Like, what is happening? And so at that point, it wasn't very long after that I had moved to Utah. And when I was in Utah, I was 15 years old at that point. It was the summer of, I want to say it was the summer of 94 or 5, I think 95. So it was July, and I had my first UFO experience as well. And so that just kept me seeking more and more. And then I ended up talking to my dad about Bigfoot that same year, all kinds of stuff. So it kind of just spiraled after that.
Yeah. Now I know that you not only are a firm believer, but that you've been told that Bigfoot and UFOs are connected. And we were talking.
Mhm.
It's interesting because we just did a live on this a couple weeks ago on my other podcast. Could have used you then, but I would like for you to talk about that connection. But would it make more sense to go into your Bigfoot stuff before we do that, or how do you want
No,
to do
I
that?
mean, it's fine. We can do that. So the connection is, so I had taken some time last year to really get closer to channeling some galactic and Bigfoot information after trying to avoid it for a long time. I was trying really hard to not do that. I was trying really hard to like just dismiss it altogether, but when it's time, it's time. So that had happened, and I had learned from some channeling experiences that Bigfoot is not from here. Bigfoot does not originate from this planet. When I asked where Bigfoot was from, I felt crazy for a second because I was like, no way, that sounds so made up. But like Bigfoot was like, they told me they're from a place called Maldeck. And I was like, I just remember stopping and kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm making this up, or this sounds like Dungeons and Dragons or some weird shit, right? Like I had no idea what was happening. But they said that they were from Maldeck. The planet got destroyed, which I guess now it's an asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. And so when the planet was destroyed, the survivors were they were transplants. They were brought here. Now, they are also interdimensional, and their connection to the galactics, they kind of do scout work here. So what happens is, because they're closer to our 3D reality, because Bigfoot's kind of between 4 and 5, they are able to kind of do scout work here, take samples of the earth and the elements, and kind of report that information, if you will, back to the higher galactics that help keep us safe.
Wow. And for those of you that are watching this, or that will listen or watch it later, that also watched the live that we did a couple weeks ago on that Bigfoot podcast, that's going to sound familiar, because that's exactly what I said that Dr. Lisa Thompson told us, and I didn't ask April to verify that. I didn't ask her to say it. That's exactly what she came out with.
Mhm.
And I mean, there are multiple people claiming this.
And that's how Lisa came to have that information, was because I channeled and I reached out to her and asked her, "Hey, does this sound familiar to you? Do you know what the fuck this is about?" I'm like, "I have no idea what's happening here." And so that's how we were able to make our connection as well. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, they kind of do scout work. They are fascinating. They are fascinating. They're actually pretty gentle. Um, well, I'm going to say my experiences are gentle. I can't vouch for everyone, and but my experiences have been gentle. I even asked the question. I asked the question because I've had an experience with a Bigfoot in 2020, and I remember thinking, well, everybody talks about how you smell bad and all these things, and I gotta ask you. I need to know because, like, I don't smell you. I don't think you smell bad, and I'm curious. I'm dying to know what this is that people are talking about. And the answer I got kind of blew my mind. I was like, what? No way. So, like, basically, because they're interdimensional and they can dematerialize and warp through other dimensions, what happens is when they're warping, there is a chemical reaction that happens, and that puts off a very strong odor. So I'm no scientist, and I don't even have the verbiage for that shit. But I can tell you when they told me that, everything in me, I was like, "Yep, that's it. That makes sense. That was it for me." I was like, "Okay, got it, understood."
And that makes sense to why you don't always smell it.
That's exactly right. You don't always smell it. I have never smelt that smell, but from what I've read or heard from other people, lots of other people have. But it makes me wonder if they had, because they had either just shown up or just got out there or what happened, and they're picking up on the odor.
Yeah, I'm on record saying that I believe I've had quite a few experiences with Bigfoot. Only one possible sighting, but I'm very confident saying that I've been in the area of Bigfoot before. And that's one of the few things that people that have witnessed Sasquatch claim
Mhm.
that I haven't experienced. One of the couple is the smell. I've never smelt it either.
I haven't either.
And
Ever.
up,
Not
up
ever.
until recent, like very recently, I had never had anything thrown at me either. And I think that I have now.
Okay, I've not had
And
that experience.
okay, so yeah, that makes perfect sense. But I've always thought that the smell, the reason that it comes and goes is it could be like a defense mechanism, like a skunk maybe. But you're
Yeah,
saying no.
I'm that's just the answer they gave me. It was very direct and like, here's what it is. And they showed me a picture of it. And I was like, oh, damn, okay, that makes sense. The way I would have. And that's how you know I'm not making up this information too, because there's no way I'm creative enough to fucking think of that shit. Like, I'm cool, but I ain't that cool. Like, so I'm like, yeah, I'm not that awesome.
Yeah. Well, you talked about having some experiences with them, so you want to share some?
Yeah, so I had in 2020, I was staying at this property, um, and there was a house on the property, and they had an RV on the property, and the property itself was like 4 or 5 acres, and all the property out there, all the people, all the owners out there had properties that were like big acreage, 5, 20 acres, whatever it was. So we were all really spread out from each other, super private, super spread out. And the owners of the house were never there. They actually lived in Austin and only came to the house, briefly on the weekends or every other weekend. So I was staying there on the property, and the RV was like maybe 30, 40 feet from the house. So it's a Friday. It's August 7th of 2020, and the Lionsgate portal is Saturday the 8th, the next day. And there was all kinds of energies going on, and I was outside chilling, and I was just kind of doing, watching the sky, being in tune with everything around me. And all of a sudden I had a visitor, and I was like, oh, that is a big energy. Holy crap, that is Bigfoot. I could tell right away. I was like, this is Bigfoot. It's gotta be. Like, I could see it in my mind. I could feel the energy kind of watching me and hanging out with me. And I remember before I went to bed, I was like, cool. I was like, so if you're Bigfoot, then I need some undeniable kick-ass sign. You're gonna have to leave me something cool that, so just to kind of confirm that I'm not fucking crazy, right? And I'm not making this shit up, because sometimes I need that validation still, right? That's my human self.
Yep.
And so I need some understanding of my own ability sometimes, and that's okay. So I was asking for this undeniable proof, right? And so a day or two had gone by, and I think it was Monday. I think it was Monday morning, and it was so windy out there. Like, it was like super whippy winds. It was ridiculous and annoying because my hair was all in my face, and that shit pisses me off, right? So I was like, oh, this is so annoying. But I had some errands to run. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go throw some laundry in at the house, and there's like this portable washer machine on the porch. And so I would go over, and I'm the only one there, and I throw my laundry into this little portable washer, and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna hop in my car, go run these errands and get back. So I go run these errands, get back, put my stuff up, and I'm like, okay, gotta walk over to the porch, get my clothes out and hang them. So I walk over to the porch, and right when I get ready to step on the step, I see this perfectly hand woven grass crown laying right. And if I had not stepped right there in that moment, it would have blown away, because it was so windy. And not only was it so windy, it was so fragile that it would have blown apart. And so I was like, oh my God. And so I grabbed it and scooped it up really quick, as fast as I could. And I was like, oh, this is definitely undeniable. And it was like totally hand woven, hand knotted in these perfect little spots. And I went inside, I laid it on a box, and I took a picture of it. And I actually sent that picture to you, Wayne, in our messenger. And so that was my first, like, okay, that was kind of like a really big key moment for me. Like, cool. Homeboy left me a present. And so, I mean, not a lot of people can, get a present from Bigfoot, but I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I've never gotten a present from them. I wish they would.
Yeah, I wish there was a way for me to drop that picture in.
You said you sent it to me. I don't remember you
Yeah, I
sending that
did.
to me.
Let me see where it is. Let me look up.
If you can send it to me, I'll get it up while you're sharing your next
Yeah,
story.
I sent it to you. It was it's on top of a. Yeah, there it is. It's on top of a Chewy box. Do you see it? Like a blue box. If you go up to, what day was this? Also, if you can post the pictures that I sent of the canine variant 1 and 3.
Oh,
Yeah, you might want to post
like
those too.
A crown thing?
Yeah, you see it? Freaking
Yeah.
perfectly hand woven thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll get that put up. And what else did you say?
The other one was I had pulled up some pictures of the canine variant 1 that I saw when I was 5. So right above the crown, like a couple pictures up from that.
Okay, that dog. Okay.
Yeah.
I've shared that one before, but I'll do it again. So
just so they can see. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, I'll work on getting those put on if you want to go into your next encounters.
Yeah, so where do you want me to go from here? Do you want me to talk about some of the UFO encounters, or like I saw the reptilian guy?
Was that all of the Bigfoot stuff?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about as far as that goes right now. And then I'm happy to share.
One you want to talk about. Whichever one you want to talk about, just jump right in.
Yeah, so when I was 15, I'll go back and kind of talk about my first UFO experience. When I was 15 and I was in Utah, I was with a friend that we'd gone to high school together up there, and it was again the summer, July of '95, I believe. And so he was taking me home, and it was late. It was like, I guess it was probably around 10 o'clock. And we pulled up in my driveway, and I was standing in front of the car, and he was laying on the hood of the car, and I was facing him, just kind of chatting, like talking to him. And he was not paying attention. And I was like, oh my God, you're not even listening to me. And he was like, I know, I'm sorry. I'm not listening because like, there's something weird. Turn around and look at the sky. And so I remember I turned around and both of us had the same, like, it was the craziest thing. Like both of us could see this UFO hovering. And it wasn't too far away, but it was close enough that if it was going to make any noise, we would have heard it. Like if it was like an airplane or a helicopter or anything like that, there was no noise. It was completely silent. And it was a straight line of like 5 lights in a row. And as it moved, the backlight would go to the front, like it was rotating. So it would just kind of like I don't know if you can picture like the backlight going to the front as it rotates, because that's kind of how it moved. So it moved really slow across for a while. And then it came back in the same pattern. And then, I mean, I think it had been like an hour or so that we'd been watching it. And then all of a sudden it turned, it was just gone. And then it was one big light and then it was gone, completely gone, just out of nowhere. It was just disappeared. And we were both like, holy shit, what the heck just happened? And I was so scared because my parents weren't home. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to sleep all night long. I am scared to death. And so like, it was this whole thing. So that kind of opened up, some more seeking for both of us as well. And then since then I'd had other experiences as well. But so I want to say in 2016, it was the winter of 2016. Again, I was in Utah. I was in Santaquin at this point. I saw he called himself a Draco. He was a Draco reptilian male. I saw him in the backyard of my daughter's house. So I had gone to pick her up. She was waiting for me. She was young at the time. She was like 15. And she was like, hey, I'm waiting for you, Mom. I'm here alone. So I'm just going to wait till you get here. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I was on my way to go pick her up. And I pulled in the driveway and my headlights kind of just shone in a straight path into the backyard. It was really, really dark. And I remember walking up to the side door. And on the side door, I could see where my headlights were shining in the backyard. And I could see my daughter through the door. And so, or I could see the light on through the door. So I'm knocking on the door, waiting for her to come open it. And at that same time, I turned my head. Something made me turn my head. And when I turned my head, I see this alien face basically floating in the backyard. And I was like, oh my God, why is there a fucking floating head? What is happening? So he wasn't actually floating. It just looked like he was floating because he didn't show me the rest of his body. I just saw his face. And so it just looked like this weird floating head. And I was like, okay, that is bizarre. So I stood there. He and I both made eye contact. He looked right at me. And I was like, cool, I see you. And then my daughter was coming to open the door. And I was like, okay. In that split second, I was like, I can't tell her what just happened, because she will be so scared and never sleep here again. So I had to like compose myself and be like, oh, hey, miss, like, how are you? Let's go. Time to go. Let's get in the car. Let's hop. Let's go. Right. So like, I was just trying really hard to like do the nurturing mom thing and not freak her out. But his face was red and yellow. It was leathery. It was like leathery reptilian skin. That's the only way I know how to explain it. And red and yellow in color, like it wasn't like ours. His eyes were very different. And when I asked why he didn't show his body, he said, because it would have traumatized me. So I took his word for it. I was like, all right, cool. Good thing you didn't. Thanks. That was interesting enough. So yeah.
Red and yellow.
Yeah, his skin was red and yellow, like red and yellow. It was very different. His eyes were dark. His eyes were pretty dark in color. But his skin, yeah, his face was red and yellow.
Now, when you say reptilian skin, you mean like snake skin, kind of?
Yeah, well, no, it was more like lizard skin. It was like really bumpy, and like even though he wasn't like right in front of me, I could still see like enough detail because the headlights were like right on his face. He stepped from the dark he stepped literally from the dark right into the headlights, kind of like it's like he like just did this certain path that only exposed his face and not his body. But also it was like, I felt like it was like this unspoken like rule, because I am a medium, like I have to show myself to you. And it felt very like almost like he had to do this thing. And I was like, cool, I see you, you see me, cool, do your thing, whatever. Like, I don't have anything else to ask, because for me, it's like, okay, you're doing your thing and I'm doing mine, and I don't really care, right? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see his face. Like, I'll never forget it. Like, it was pretty cool.
I bet you'll never forget it. I've got those pictures pulled up, so or loaded. I'm gonna pull up the interwoven gift that you got. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, if I had not stepped in that spot at that very moment, that thing would have been blown away and blown to pieces, because it was so delicately hand woven.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't happen accidentally.
No, of course it doesn't. And there was nobody there to come like make sure it sat on my porch in that one spot until like that 1 second that I stepped up. Like, you couldn't do that. You couldn't pull that off.
It's really cool looking. How big is that, would you say?
I had to hold my 2 hands under it.
Okay.
To make sure it didn't, it was fully supported and didn't fall apart.
So it's like a crown, would you say? Would it sit on the top of
It's
your head?
literally a crown. It's literally a grass crown.
Okay. That's really cool. We got these Dogman pictures. I've shared this image before, but you said it was that. Which one did you say? The variant one?
The canine variant one, that one right in the middle, was the one I saw when I was 5. The variant 3 at the top is the picture I got in my 14-year-old experience, when I was like, what is following me? And they showed me this picture and I was like, damn, okay. But I wasn't afraid, because I knew that I knew how protected I was, and I knew that I was just being studied. Like, it's not like I was threatened or in a position to be hurt. I was being studied. I was being monitored.
So let me ask you, I've just been quiet. I've just been absorbing all this information.
Yeah.
Is this why people will encounter the Dogman but not get attacked by them? Because they're not there to intentionally hurt you, they're just studying you?
I think most of the time that's the case, even with Bigfoot. I think most of the time it's more of they really don't want anything to do with us, to be honest. Like, they're doing their thing, we're doing ours, and sometimes our paths cross, and that's it's really just they're being educated just like we are.
Do you know what it is they're trying to learn from us or study from us?
I don't necessarily know that they're trying to learn something specific. I think it's more of observing our habits so they can protect their own self.
Okay, we've actually got a couple questions here from the audience. Let me get, well, Ristle's should be pretty short, so we'll do his first. He wanted to know if the crown fit, if it fit on top of your head.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. I didn't even try it on. It was too delicate and too beautiful, and so I just placed it on that box and took a picture.
Carson is wanting to know, and I believe he is, let me get it back. I believe he's talking about the reptilian guy, the red and yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he threw that question up there.
Why was he there? Do you have
your question's as good. I mean, it's good as any. I couldn't tell you that either. I've never once asked. I've never cared. For me, it's like this. If you are going outside and you see some stranger jogging down your road, and you're like, I've never seen that guy before, you're not going to run up to him and be like, what the fuck are you doing here? What's your name? Where'd you come from? I don't give a fuck what he's doing. Like, I'm just like, he's doing his thing, I'm doing mine. So it never really occurred to me to ask, to be honest. I'm just like, cool, do your thing, whatever.
Okay. All right. So where were we? Where were we at before we asked you the questions?
You were uploading pictures, and I had just talked about his red and yellow face. That's where we were at.
Okay, and you. Okay, so what happens next? Do you have any more encounters with anything that we would consider cryptids or aliens?
Oh yeah. I've definitely had lots of encounters. So let me think which might fall into that category. Hmm. I definitely have other galactic experiences. I'm trying to think which one.
Do you think you've ever been abducted? And I know Lisa hates that
Oh,
word.
yeah, she does. So yes, well, here's the thing. I don't consider it abduction because I'm happy to get the fuck out of here. I'm like, cool, get me off this planet. I don't need any excuses. Like, so for me, it's more like they're doing me a favor, and I also, again, that's a situation that I feel very protected in. But that is something I still encounter. I don't encounter it as often right now, but there's been plenty of times that I have woken up with marks on my body and in places that there's no way I could have done it to myself. And I've woken up with bloody mouths and pieces of paper in my mouth and all kinds of weird stuff. So like, I definitely know that I'm still going through those experiences, but they don't bother me. It's something that I agree to.
Do you have any memory of like being on a ship? Because
Yes.
Lisa shared this story that was amazing about
So
her first time being on one.
yes, so I do have, but they seem to be more masked as like dreams for me. So I'll go and then I'll have dreams of the ships and things I'm doing, even some of my galactic family members, and then I'll wake up and I'll be so sad that I'm here again. I'm like, back in this shithole. Like, I'm just so like heartbroken that I'm back on this planet again. I'm like, this sucks. Oh my God.
Okay, yeah, Naoma commented here. I think it's a cool comment. That in the Barney and Betty Hill case, Barney was far more upset by the abduction than Betty was. In fact, she remembered it more favorably. I wonder if that's a male-female thing.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, well, we're here at the hour. April, tell everybody where they can find you. Anybody that might want a reading, or if you have a website or any channels or anything
Yeah,
like
do
that.
you, I did send those links to you. Do you have those available?
I do, and
Okay.
I'll put
Okay.
those in the show notes. But if you want to tell people,
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook at April DeMille. And I think my I don't even know. I think it's Exordium Healings is what I have it listed under. That's really bad information. I think you're gonna have to wait for the links because I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
okay, yeah, you sent me all the links, and when I post this to podcast, I will include all of those links. So everybody will just be a click away from getting to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Again, ma'am, let me thank you for taking the time to come and hang out. What's the weather been like in Texas?
Today it was like, I think we topped out at like 59 degrees today. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice. I like it.
Okay. We always talk about the weather because I'm in Tennessee. Tiffany's in Virginia, and she cries about the cold. So
I
Texas stays
love the cold. I don't think we get enough cold, and I cannot stand the brutal heats and summers here. Like, I'm not a true Texan at all.
like what section? You don't have to tell me your address or anything, but like what part of Texas are you in?
So we're close to Austin. We're in the Austin area.
It gets hot as hell, don't it?
It gets freaking ridiculous. It's so bad. Yeah.
Like, what's the average summertime temp?
Like 108.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it gets pretty stupid during July and August. It's awful.
See,
That
I don't
is,
know if I could do that kind of heat.
Mm-mm.
I know here when it's like 98, since I've gotten older, I struggle, but still with, I mean, 75 is good for me.
Yeah, like I'm good with like 50. Like 50s and 60s are like kind of perfect for me.
yeah. How did Lisa? Lisa's got it made. She's out there in Hawaii on the
I
big
know
island.
she's always got like 70-degree weather. But you know, here it's so dang humid too. So like 108 feels like 120 sometimes. Like it's just
Yep.
awful because you're like dripping wet, everything's sticky and muggy, and it's gross.
Here in Tennessee, I mean, we stay in the high 90s. We'll hit the low 100s sometimes, but it feels like 120. You can't step outside. There's no air moving.
Yeah. Ugh,
Sweat. You can watch the sweat just form on your body. It's terrible.
disgusting. Yeah, no, not fun.
All right. Well, again, let me thank you for taking the time to come and hang out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Okay, ma'am?
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to get to come spend time with you guys. So thank you for that.
Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
April.
We appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Some pretty out there stuff, huh?
It is. It's a whole lot to swallow.
It is, but you hear these people talk and you just got no reason not to believe them, you know?
Right. And when I used to just listen to you guys when I was working, and I would listen to Doug and Alex's show, and I would listen to your show and Brian's show, and like I had a whole list that I would listen to in 8 hours. And there were people who would come on and speak about what she just talked about. So it's like hearing the story all over again.
Yeah.
And it's coming from a completely different person, somebody who's not connected to that. They just happen to experience it. But it's almost verbatim what she said.
That's right. That is right.
Mhm.
The poll question that we had up tonight, I asked, is Bigfoot intergalactic? And we had 11 votes. 73% said no. Bigfoot is not intergalactic.
Yep.
And I believe I'm in that camp. What say you?
Um, I think there's a connection somewhere. Do
Yeah.
I think that they're like fully, that's a big ask. To step over that line to believe that. So if somebody was holding a gun to my head and said, answer it yes or no, I would say no.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, I believe there's a connection. There's been too many sightings, too much of a connection there for it to be
Right.
ignored. And people like April and Lisa that came on, they seem credible.
Mm-hmm.
They're both very well spoken, intelligent women,
Yeah.
and you can't discredit them.
Yeah. It's really hard to discredit that. Your brain's like, no, y'all are batshit crazy. But then when you look at the facts of it and they're giving you all the information, you can't dispute it's hard to dispute the information.
Yeah. That's something I wanted to ask the audience members real quick before we get out of here, because as you can tell, as the show went on, we started getting more people to come in. At the beginning of the show, there's just a couple of people in here, and I'd like to know why. And I've noticed that before on these shows. The longer we go, like the later we get, people start to pile in. Is it a time thing with the people? Is it what the guest is talking about that doesn't interest you? I'm asking everyone out there in the audience. Y'all all have a way of getting in touch with us, so you don't have to answer me right now. Just email us,
Yeah.
and or message me on Facebook. However you talk to me, because I'm curious. I would like to know, because it's all about giving y'all what y'all want. And if we can improve, we want to. So
Yeah,
if
there's
y'all
always room for improvement.
Yeah. But I've noticed that because there for a while we only had 3 or 4 people in here, and then it jumped up into the double digits.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know why that is. If it's just coincidence, then it's coincidence. But I don't know. Just let me know. All right, you got anything before we get out of here, ma'am?
Actually, do I have one thing? Just give me 2 seconds because I wasn't prepared because I'm unprofessional. Okay. Tomorrow night, 8:00 Eastern, 7:00 Central, I will be on with Mr. Bobby Drizzle on his show, Caffeinated Cryptid, over there on YouTube. And we're going to get into Bigfoot and rabbit holes and just a whole bunch of high strangeness. And you guys come over there and hang out and let's just have a good time for an hour.
What time did you say that was?
It's 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
Okay. 8:00 our time.
Yes.
You going to share a link tomorrow?
I will absolutely share it. Yes.
Okay. Everybody that's here, I would love to see y'all over there tomorrow. Give our girls some support. Help out Mr. Bobby Doll. Give him some subs and all that cool stuff.
I think he has like 613 subs.
Okay.
So
Well,
he could use that little. Yeah, he could use that little boost. And also the Basement Hangout is so close to 1,000 subs. They have 943 or 946. I can't remember. So y'all head over there and like just push them over the edge the rest of the way. So
yeah.
But yeah, come see me tomorrow night on Caffeinated Cryptid.
All right. Say your goodbyes, ma'am.
Goodbye, ma'am. Have a good night.
All right, everybody. Y'all, thanks so much for coming and hanging out again. Y'all be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And we'll see you next time.